Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I am your host, Lori Palau, and I'm very excited that you are here for today's episode. So, as you know, if you've been around us for a while, we've been running this series called our Partner Spotlight Series. And what we're doing is bringing out our amazing SBO partners who are our endorsed organizers in all other markets outside of my own personal geographic area that are extremely talented, passionate about organizing, and they each have their own unique style and story, and we want to share them with you. We want to tell you a little bit about them so that you can learn, get inspiration if you're thinking about maybe starting your own organizing business. A lot of people are getting inspired from hearing other people's stories. And if you are somebody that is looking for an organizer and happens to live in one of these geographic markets, well, we have your back. So it's a win-win for everybody. And I'm very excited to bring out today's guest because she is a longtime SBO partner. She's become a dear friend, and I've had her on the show before, and I probably should have looked. I'll put it in the show notes. I forget what episode she was on, but she's been on an episode before. So if you've been with our show for a long time, you may recognize her voice. Joining me is Mary Cornetta, and Mary is the founder of Sort and Sweet Organizing, which is based in Long Island, New York. And she also is a blogger and a writer for the brand, her own personal stuff that she does called Organized Overall. And recently she relocated to Savannah, Georgia. We're going to talk about that. And Mary is just a wealth of knowledge and is someone who has a true passion for wanting people to live simply, and not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean be a minimalist, but just really rid yourself from the clutter and the stuff that is not serving you well in your life, whatever that looks like, whether that's relationally, whether that's with your physical stuff, whether that's with emotional clutter. And she's got her own unique story. And like everybody else, got into this business because this is something that they were passionate about, but she has a very unique perspective, which she's going to talk about when we bring her out to the show. She's a dog mom, which we love dog moms. So we always talk about our guests if they have kids, and she's a dog mom to Lily. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome my dear friend, Mary Cornetta, out to the show. Welcome back, I should say.
Yes. Thank you, Lori. Actually, I was trying to figure out, it was at least like 4 different apartments ago that I lived in that I was on your podcast last. It was a while ago.
I love how you do it by apartments. We used to, whenever we would try in our personal life to like think about something that happened a long time ago, we would go by my hairstyles. What did Lori have? Bangs, long hair, short hair? Was it dark brown? Was it kind of blonde? What was my hair look like?
That's hilarious. I change apartments more than I change hairstyles, so that wouldn't work for me. But
now, we should have had you on for the moving episodes, because I think I've been in my house for like 20 years, and well, I'm just like, the thought of moving. I mean, obviously we're very happy where we are and all the things, but moving is a lot. I don't even do moving for clients. Like, that's not, if someone asks me if I do move management, I'm like, no, that's not my thing, but I've got great people that do.
I'd rather do it for other people. One, is a lot less of an emotional investment, and 2, I get paid for it. For me, it's just but yeah, no, I appreciate you having me back on. Even, I can't remember what episode it was either, but I remember having such a great time.
It's always
talking with you. And
always have a great time. So tell our listeners a little bit about you. Give them a little bit of backstory into who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Mary, and I was born and raised on Long Island with my mom more than my dad, but both parents are a little bit of hoarders. They like their clutter. And I just didn't growing up. Like it gave me anxiety. I hated it really. And I grew up being very, very organized. I would go as far to say as in my 20s, I kind of went, I think, a little bit too extreme, and I became so minimalistic that I remember decluttering my closet down to the point that I really didn't have anything to wear. And I was like, all right, this is, I went a little bit too far. Everything is in the laundry. And I also was a bit of a perfectionist, and I felt like I couldn't really relax ever. Like if I left a spoon in the sink, I could not just sit and watch TV. I had to like everything had to be put away and organized. Not always like the best way to live. And this is coming from someone that's now been professionally organizing for 5 years. Like there needs to be, I think, a little bit of a middle ground there. But yeah, I worked for 10 years from graduated college in 2007. I went to my first meeting of NAPO, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers. It was just kind of an informational meeting to find out about them. And, if I wanted to create a career as an organizer, this is 2007, completely different like landscape than it is now. We've talked about this. Like it is just, it's night and day in the last, 10
I started my business in 2009, and I always tell people there was no Instagram or Pinterest. No. Like it wasn't even.
And for me, the biggest thing was that most of the people that were organizing were like solopreneurs, and they didn't have a team. They didn't have enough work to have a team. And at 22 years old, I was like, I'm not ready to start my own business. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I kind of put it out of my head. I did a bunch of other things. I got my real estate license. I got my personal training certification. I worked at a gym. I was
gonna say, were you a dance instructor too? Didn't you do that?
Taught ballroom dance for 3 years. I worked for an attorney for 5, and the corporate life is just not for me. Doing the same commute every day, sitting at a desk every day, I just felt sort of like my soul leaving my body. And I was like, this is just not for me. So I finally had this moment of like, this was now 2017. So exactly 10 years later, I said, I am going to become an organizer, like whatever it takes. I don't care. So I started Sort and Sweet, and I was born in 2017 on Long Island. I was a solopreneur at first. Now I actually have a team that is absolutely fantastic. And as Laura mentioned, I moved down to Savannah, Georgia. I wanted a change of pace, different weather, just kind of a slower lifestyle down here. And I have to say, it has not disappointed. So I'm managing the team from almost 1,000 miles away, and clients are happy. We have new clients, long-term clients. And it's been great. And because I have now a little bit more free time on my hands, yes, I am organizing physically hands-on with some clients here, but not in the sense that I was up there. It was go, 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 go. So now I'm doing it a little bit for fewer and far between, but I have more time on my hands to sort of dedicate to things that I'm passionate about. So writing is one of them. I'm currently freelance writing for an online publication. I do blog posts, create content, and I just launched an Etsy shop with some digital products.
Oh my gosh. We have to link up to your Etsy shop. So, because you've got the cutest stuff. Do you have your notebook in front of you for anybody that's watching?
This is actually on Amazon. No, I left the notebook. Actually, I was journaling in it this morning, and I left it out on the couch.
All right. Well, tell everybody, and we'll post some pictures or something of it, because it's super cute.
I wish I have the old one behind me, but I don't want to show you that one. Okay. I created a journal. It's called BRB, Decluttering My Brain. And it's a physical journal that I sell at Amazon.
So cute.
On Prime. It's super inexpensive, and it's just meant to, whether you want to declutter like your brain from all the to-dos in your head, and you just want to get it down on paper, or if you want to journal. So that's what I've been using mine for. But I hated the original design that I created. I ordered it before I told anybody about it, and it came, and I was like, I don't like this. So I went back to the drawing board, I redid it, and I love the new one. But the new one is out in the living room.
So it's so cute, guys. I was like, oh my gosh, this is adorable. Yeah, we'll definitely link up to it.
Thank you.
So I want to go back and just ask you a question, because I'm curious to know what changed for anybody that's listening out there that might be thinking about starting a business or not sure, like maybe like I want to start organizing, but I'm not really sure how to make this a business. So what was the shift in your, from like 27 to 2017, in that 10 years? Obviously the landscape of our industry had grown and changed. But what was it at that point that made you go, yeah, I think now's the time?
Yeah, I don't know like how intense this answer might be, but I'm going to be blunt.
Yeah.
I was miserable. I was in a lot of pain. And I felt like I had no control over my life. And like I said, doing that same thing every single day, the monotony of it. And it was, I think, less about the monotony that did play a part, but there was also this feeling of no purpose. I had no passion for what I was doing. I felt like there was so much more out there for me, and I didn't know like how I was going to get it at first. And it just got to the point where I've told this story only a handful of times, so I'm going to tell it here. I remember I was driving to the office, and there was this one very long straight road, and it's like one of those roads where you just like zone out and you get to the end and you're like,
how did I get here?
And you kind of just get into your brain and your head. And I remember just having this moment of like, I kind of wish I just got into like a little car accident right now. Nothing major, just enough that makes me like not have to go to work today.
Just a little fender bender. Okay.
Yeah, nothing crazy. And I like snapped out of it while I was on this road. And I was like, Mary, this is not why you were put here on earth to like wish you were going to get into a car accident to not have to go to a job. Like this is not okay. And I think that was one, it wasn't one specific moment, but it was like little moments like that. And I remember I came home one day and I was just pissed. I was just really angry. And I went into my closet and I started pulling things out and reorganizing. And I was like angrily organizing. And I was like, that's it. I just want to do this. And it was like a literal light bulb that went off my head. Like, what's stopping you? Like, what is stopping you? And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said like our industry has changed. There was so many other organizers that were coming out. And there was one that I remember that was like kind of around my age. And I was like, well, if she can do it, what's stopping me?
Mm-hmm.
And there really wasn't that beforehand.
There wasn't.
No.
Yeah, there wasn't. And I think a lot of that has to do with just social media. And again, we talk about the good and the bad of social media, but I think to really be able, like you said, to have role models, other people that you can look to that give you that, like, well, if they're doing it, I can do it too. Give you that confidence, permission, whatever it is, fill in the blank. But I do want to point out, which is, again, for people that are listening out there, I was fortunate when I tell my story about, starting my business. I was a recruiter and then pivoted my business, took a leap of faith to start this. And I had the safety net of Josh's salary and benefits. And I'm very candid about that. Like I was going to try this as something that I wanted to do and I wanted to give it a go, but I was like, okay, we're going to give this 6 months. And if it's not working out, we can, go back and revisit it. But in the back of my mind, I knew that my kids were going to eat, the lights were going to stay on, we were going to have a roof over our head. And I want you to speak into this because we do have people that are out there that are, whether they're single moms or they're just not, no kids, but they're responsible for their own livelihoods. And they're like, I might want to do this, but I'm not really sure how. You are a single woman and you were taking care of yourself. So you didn't have that financial safety net the way I did. So
business. I'm sorry. That's my dog Lily shaking violently in the background. She does that from time to time. So they're my biggest cheerleaders. And, I know that, thankfully I really haven't had to, COVID definitely made me get a little shaky at certain points, but I really haven't had to like rely on them too much. But I knew that I think in the back of my head that if God forbid I needed something, they were there. So more or less, like, there was that safety net. And I know that there are people out there that don't have that at all. They don't have any support system, anyone that they can turn to, look to, whether it's a friend or, a family member. So I get that that's hard. I did not do it all at once. I did, in the sense that I quit my full-time job. So that I cut, kind of quit cold turkey. And then, but I'm sorry, before I did that, I had set out to put it out there and say, I'm going to find something that's part-time and that's also flexible. And thankfully I did. I applied to something that was part-time, like maybe 20 hours a week. And it was also, again, like very flexible. Like I could do 10 hours in a day if I really wanted to, and then work with clients the next like 4 days, 3 days, and then do another 10-hour day. Like I could do it however I wanted to do it. I didn't have anyone breathing down my neck, micromanaging me. As long as I got my job done, they didn't care. So that was really, really helpful. And it paid almost like to the penny the my basic expenses. So that was something that, thankfully that worked out beautifully for me. But I also put myself out there. I manifested. I said, this is what I want. And I didn't just think about it. I actually put my resume out there.
I think that's
me.
important. Yeah. You can't just keep that to yourself. Like, I want to do this. You have to talk about it. You have to,
take the action.
Yeah. You have to take action.
I love manifestation, and I truly, truly believe in it. I've manifested some amazing things in my life, but it's not just about like journaling and thinking about it. It's meditating on it. It is like actually going out and doing the things that get you, the results. So it's a little combination of both. But yeah, that lasted for about a year, and the contract was actually supposed to go for longer. It's funny, I signed I think originally a 2 or 3 year contract with them. It was a big company, and they wound up canceling our contract after a year. But right before we found that out, basically everybody got fired. I was actually prepping myself. I hate quitting things. Like, I'm not a quitter, but I was getting so much organizing business that like I couldn't even do the 20 hours a week. Like, it just wasn't working, even if I worked weekends. And I was overwhelmed, and I was ready to then at that point switch over to be, just fully working for myself. And I was about like, ready to tell my manager, hey, like, I'm sorry, like, I love working for you guys, but I need to, and they knew, I was upfront with them about what I was doing, and this was never going to be a long-term thing. But right before I got the guts to tell him this, we all found out we were,
so the
contract was up.
There you go.
Yeah. And then, so I was able to just hang on for a little while longer to finish that out. And then I've been working for myself ever since.
That's amazing. And so I want you to talk about a little bit about how the types of clients that you see primarily, or that Sort and Sweet as a brand sees, and also how you've grown your business. Because unlike myself, who for the most part, when I was doing more physical organizing, was primarily word of mouth and friends of friends of friends, you've got your business has a large Instagram following, and you get a lot of business through social media. And so again, I think that just speaks to generationally, as well as just, I think, the types of projects that you're taking on. And I just thought, maybe you could talk about how you grew the business from this fledgling, I'm going to just kind of do this part-time while I'm paying, having this other job to pay my bills, to now I'm full-time, to then growing a team.
Yeah, well, I did in the beginning do some advertising, and we still run Google ads, but I find that I'm pulling back on that a little bit because we don't really need it. The majority of our clients, both back then and now, well, I'd say actually back then and now was, because we're going on 5 years, is word of mouth, in-person networking, word of mouth, referrals from other clients, which are always the best. So always the best kinds. And then now, as the Instagram account has, grown, we just get DMs from people, or we'll get submissions on our website, and people say, hey, yeah, I found you on Instagram. So I'm 37 now. So like, I don't want to say it's necessarily a generational thing, because I know that, there's still so much about social media that I'm new with, and I'm just like playing around with TikTok and like trying to get comfortable with that. I have heard I've researched it and heard so many stories about TikTok just blowing up people's businesses, whether it's organization, whether it's Etsy shops, whether, it's anything. So I'm trying to play around with that a little bit, but yeah, my generation is kind of that like in between generation where like,
I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
Media,
My old brain can't keep up with everything. Like it's
not just you, and it keeps changing. And I heard now Instagram is like only favoring video content. Like I think they're trying to compete with TikTok. It's always something new you have to learn.
Yes.
And I think no matter what age you are, or if you have a business, it's as overwhelming and frustrating and maybe even annoying it is, like you have to have social media. My father has no social media whatsoever. He might have a LinkedIn. I think he does, but he pays somebody. He owns a small mechanic shop, like that's basically run by, customers that he's had for years, but he still pays a social media person to post Facebook posts for him. Like that. The way I look at it, I'm like, if my dad has somebody to run a social media business, there,
right.
a page for his business, then I'm like, then everybody needs it. So it's just, fortunately or unfortunately, it's the way that the world is right now.
And you put really great content. I mean, and obviously we'll link to, all your social handles, but not only are they, entertaining and fun, but you've got like great before and after pictures. You've got great videos. There's lots of you gave great tips and advice on there, both on the organized overall as well as short and sweet. Just talk a little bit about the differentiation between the two, because you have the two different companies.
So it's actually funny you bring this up. And I know like we're going to probably have this, you're going to have this air in another couple of months. So maybe I'll have a better answer at the time. So, short and sweet is really the before and afters, and the physical organizing tips. So like, how to organize your kitchen drawers, your, closets, your everything in your home, versus my personal brand, which is organized overall, is more about like how everything is connected. So, how to get rid of mental clutter, how to get rid of, some emotional clutter, and just kind of like simplify your life overall. How it's all connected, and I find too that I posted this recently, I actually think it was to TikTok, and I had a little bit of a response saying like, okay, it's not just you. I find that like when I start to organize my life and declutter my life in one area, that it starts to like ripple effect. So we're not, as organizers, our homes are not perfect. Like I think everybody kind of, knows that by now, like not everybody is perfect. And, like I said, I kind of have that middle ground now where like, yes, things have a system and I don't have a lot of excess, but sometimes I get either, just overwhelmed, I get busy, I get stressed, or I'm just lazy and stuff piles up on the countertops, the mail piles up, the dishes pile up in the sink, laundry piles up, like it happens. And then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this. And I, start organizing everything. And then it's like that ripple effect where I start to think like, oh, you know what, let me meal prep for next week. And I'm going to get my fridge organized. And you know what, let me look at like my finances and see what's going on there. Let me see, if everything's in line. And it just like sort of all stems together. So I do find though that it is somewhat confusing. I feel like when I'm the face behind Sort and Sweet, I'm a face behind this other brand. So I am currently brainstorming ways of kind of like bringing things together a little bit, but I don't have that worked out yet. So maybe by the time this airs, it'll be a little bit simpler, because I feel like it's simple. I want to simplify my entire life. So that includes businesses as well, because, as single person running two businesses, that is my life at this point.
I got it. Well, at least there's worse problem to have. You're just helping people in all different aspects.
Exactly. And if not hearing about, I do have to say one of the biggest differences, I think that I let myself be a lot more I'm naturally like blunt when it comes to things. I firmly believe that a lot of people don't have an organization, or like I should say more like I don't know how to organize problem, and they have a too much stuff problem. And one of my like little catchphrases, I don't know if I can curse here, but it's no,
you get, we're a family friendly show.
Yeah.
But
get rid of your, get rid of your
blank.
Get rid of your stuff, because like that's like part of the problem is you just people just have too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of like tell it like it is, and like tough love, and I let the curses fly a little bit more on organized overall, and I keep it much more family friendly on short and sweet. So that is so maybe I think that's one of the reasons I've kept it separate for a while, is because that one person might relate more to me on that more like of a blunt sort of just tough love level. And then some people might want that little more of like PG and just about the house and just keeping the stuff organized versus all the other stuff, the non-physical stuff.
Right. But at the end of the day, like, and this is obviously what we talk about here. So if you're listening to the show, that living an organized life is not siloed to your physical stuff. It's all of the things. And if you're mentally bogged down with clutter and overwhelm, it stands in the way. It becomes a roadblock to dealing with your physical clutter. So it really does make a difference. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, the Enneagram. So we're going to talk all about that with Mary. So sit tight. We'll be right back. All right. So Mary, you know this, and we've talked about this. I was actually on, so you also have, before we get into the Enneagram, you also have this other group that, again, your business has been with COVID, has pivoted and changed and grown. And one of the ways that you're serving your community was through your membership group, Lux Home Lounge. You want to just, I know that you're probably going to be maybe pausing that or phasing that out, but just for our listeners to put some context, give a little bit of backstory into kind of what that looked like and why you created that.
Yeah, and that was honestly I'm bored in a quarantine project because for 3 months, the state of New York, lived there at the time, was shut down in 2020. So myself and my then partner of Sort and Sweet, Margaret, we decided to, we're neither one of us are good at sitting on our hands. So we decided to put our love into creating it's like a whole separate website, but it is just basically an extension of our own website. And we created this online monthly membership, and each month is a different topic. Actually, right before you and I jumped on, we interviewed another SBO partner as our guest expert. And like you said, we had you on as well. And we talked about how, your Enneagram number could affect you, the way that you look at clutter and you handle it. So that's something that we had a lot of time at the time to put love into, and it's starting to become we're busy.
Yeah.
Like that's a good problem to have. So yes, that it's going to be making some changes with that, but everything that we have done with the membership is still going to be available. It just might not be creating new content, but like people can still access all of the 2 years worth, because we started this in 2020, 2 years worth of content can still be accessed.
And the premise, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the premise was, we were, theoretically handcuffed from being able to go into people's homes for safety reasons, obviously. And so you wanted to figure out a way to continue to monetize your business, but also to help people, because we all know that people were stuck in their homes going, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff. I don't know what to do. I need direction. Help me. And so this was solving that problem for people, because like you said, every month had a different theme, and it was designed to help people at home get inspiration and education and motivation to be able to organize or tackle areas of their home. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's absolutely right. It was, meant for the DIY type of person, whether they naturally are that way or they were kind of forced into being that way because they were also stuck home. and looking for
Yes.
ways to organize their house and make it just feel a lot more comfortable while they were spending more time in it.
Yeah. And now that, the world's, pretty much opened up, people are, back in it. And like you said, anyone that's ever created a digital product or done any type of membership program, there's obviously a ton of time that needs to be invested into serving that part of your community well. And so since, your bread and butter, so to speak, has been helping people on site, I think makes sense that you would direct your efforts there. But I had so much fun being interviewed by you for your people, talking about the Enneagram and clutter and how personality types can really affect why the one size fits all approach doesn't work. And this, and we see this all the time with our clients. One strategy that you implement for somebody works great, and the complete flop for somebody else. And we all know this in our lives, things that work well for one person don't necessarily work for another. Talk to us a little bit about your Enneagram type.
I feel like you could probably tell me more about my Enneagram. I mean, I took the test years ago, and I've looked into it, and we had our discussion, which was super enlightening.
Okay.
But I still feel like there's so much for me to learn about it. And yeah, so I'm a 7.
Okay.
And I'm through and through from what I understand.
Yes.
I'm a 7.
So, all right. So you just chime in whenever you want. Cause I want you to feel this is your show. This is your platform today. So yes, Mary on the Enneagram identifies as a 7, which is the enthusiast. We love 7s. Obviously we love all Enneagram types, but 7s are your fun people. So out there, they are your adventure seekers. They are the people that I like to think of your 7s as very much the glass half full people. Like we all deal with, roadblocks, struggles in our lives, personally, professionally. And our 7s, they're authentic. It's not like they're fake and everything's great and fine, but they really try to find that silver lining in everything. And again, not that they don't have their own struggles, but they kind of work in that half range of emotion on the happier side of things, and that's very true to 7s. So again, I don't know if that sounds like you. It's from the outside, that sounds like you, but you tell me if that sounds,
Yeah, I think when it comes to, we talked about if there's anybody listening that maybe wants to start, whether it's their own organizing business or just a business in general, I know that I have not had children, yet. And I know that that's a difficult journey.
Mm-hmm.
But starting a business has by far been the absolute hardest thing I've ever done. The most rewarding, but the hardest thing I've ever done. And there are and have been days that, that you're crying in the shower of like, I don't know. I don't want to do this. I'm going to give up. I'm done. It just feels like the whole world, like, everything bad that could happen all seems to happen at once. And it's tough, but I've always tried to put the most positive, outlook onto things and say, well, you know what, this sucks, but it's a lesson to be learned, and it's going to help me be stronger and better at what I'm doing in the future, for sure. Any mistakes that I've made on jobs or in the business or even just in personal, my personal life, I try to move on from it and not dwell on it and just learn from it and do better in the future. So yeah, I definitely think it does.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you said that. And the other thing, which I think is very true to you, because I've watched you from when you started your business to fast forward like 5 years, and 7s are, in terms of the orientation to time, we talk about there's 3 different orientations to time: people that are oriented to the past, people that are present oriented, and then there's your future oriented people. And our Enneagram 3s, 7s, and 8s are all future oriented people. And so as a forward thinker, you're always thinking about what's next, what is coming next, what can I do moving forward in the future. And again, I think any Enneagram type can be a successful entrepreneur, but I think that future oriented perspective can really serve you well as an entrepreneur, because again, like when the pandemic happened, you were able to not focus in on what was either going on or what happened, but go, okay, how can we move forward? How can we look ahead and make something work?
Well, it's really interesting that you say that, because I am naturally a forward-thinking person. However, before I had made my move down south, I had entirely too much calendar clutter. And I had zero time to really even like think about, it was like just keeping the dog alive, like just getting her situated, making sure she's gone to the bathroom and has eaten her breakfast, and getting myself out of the house and figuring out what I'm eating. Like there was like many nights where like a bowl of cereal at 10 p.m. was my dinner, because I just had too much on my plate. And that was one of the reasons I decided to move, was I knew that I needed to make a major change in my life. I was having physical problems. You and we spoke offline about this. I was having a lot of thyroid issues. I wound up having a bleeding ulcer. Like it was bad. My anxiety was high. It was really bad. So I found that when I had all of that clutter going on, because yes, you are the huge proponent for this, that calendar clutter is a thing. I had no time to think about the future at all. And I was just living in the moment, which sounds like, oh, that's nice. You live in the moment, enjoy the moment. No, it was like, I was just barely surviving in the moment. Like I was
that's the thing. There's a difference between being present, like we're doing this and I'm being present. I don't have devices. My brain is focused in on the task, and just being in survival mode.
Yeah. That's why I was in survival mode. So I could not look forward. And there's all these things that I wanted to do. I have a whole idea in my head about an organizing book series that I want to write. And it's like, when I can barely just like get to my client on time, to the Container Store on time, like to do what I need to do. Like I'm not going to think about writing a book. So I was having a really hard time thinking and forwardly, because I just was surviving in the moment. But now that I've moved and my life has seriously slowed down for the better, now I have time to dedicate to looking at the future again. So I think that if anybody's listening and they feel like they are in survival mode, not saying to get up and move 1,000 miles away, unless that's, something that's going to spark joy.
Sometimes that doesn't sound like a bad idea. I'm not going to lie, but
no, I said I wanted to do it for the longest time. And I finally, it was like very similar to the moment of realizing I needed to start my own organizing business. It was like that. I just can't live like this anymore. I need to make a change. Like I have to, there's something out there that's calling me and I have to go find it. But it could be small changes in your life, just saying no to things more often, practicing that no muscle, and clearing up your calendar, putting half an hour even just to sit in the morning or sit. I like to try to do, especially when I was busier, running around and not home a lot. Now I'm home a lot more, but I would try to do on Wednesdays, a wind down Wednesday, where at like a certain like time, maybe it was like 7 p.m., I would put the phone away. Like it would be on a charger or it'd be on do not disturb. And I take a bath, I would have a glass of wine and watch whatever I want on Netflix, and not like, just stop thinking. Like, just stop thinking. Like, it could be one night a week, like, but you need that, because I find that in those moments, that's when inspiration comes.
Always. And again, we've talked about this on the show, and this is not something that I've created. I mean, there's science that backs it up, that says when people are like, oh my gosh, I was in the shower and I had the greatest idea, or I was going for a walk. It's in those moments where we don't have those distractions that's when our brains can really think. Like I remember even when I was a kid, my mom used to be like, at night when you sleep, that's when you grow. Well, it's the same thing. It's like your body needs to be, you have to quiet the distraction in order for us to be able to really think about what we're going to be doing, and not just living in that survival mode. And so many of us, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, whether it's relationally, we're all just going a million miles an hour. And then the byproduct of that, in addition to the exhaustion and the mental load, often results in that physical clutter, because we're just so busy and there's so many other things that are taking sucking our attention that there's no time to address the physical stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Or you don't have the energy to, even if you have the time, you just don't have the energy to do it.
yeah.
But I think also that goes along like with my thought process that if you got rid of stuff,
Yes.
that at least, even if you're exhausted after a day of parenting and working and running a business and all those things, then at least it's not going to take you as long to get the physical in order. Like I tell my clients a lot of times, like, well, there's one of two things. The only difference between me and them, when I come in before we do anything, is that my stuff has a system, theirs doesn't, excuse me.
Yeah.
I also have less stuff than they do. So my house can get messy. But if someone says, "Hey, I'm coming over, like, are you home? I'm in the area. I'm going to come by," like the dreaded pop by that a lot of people don't want, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, my house is not ready," which is like 24/7. Like, I can get it ready in 5 minutes because I don't have a lot of stuff and I know where everything goes. So I take the brain work out of it, and I also take the time and the physical work out of it, to get it ready. So even if I'm tired or exhausted or I have very, little time, I can still make my physical space look presentable, if somebody were to pop by.
I love it. I think that's perfect. Okay. So I want you to tell our listeners, before we head to our last break, where can they go to find you? What's the best place to connect up with you? Obviously, we'll link to everything in our show notes. So just plug away.
Mm-hmm. So really simple. The website for Sort and Sweet is sortandsweetny.com, as in New York. And the Instagram is @sortandsweet. And then for my personal brand, if people aren't easily offended and they want to check me out there,
it's not that offensive. Like, no, let's be honest. I mean, you're not sitting there just, it's not like you're sitting there dropping the F on every 5 seconds. It's
maybe once in a blue moon, but
it's okay.
Just like I said, it's a little bit more like tell it like it is. It's just organizedoverall.com, and then on Instagram @organizedoverall. Like I said, I'm starting to build up my TikTok, all the same, Pinterest, everything's just keep it simple. But yeah, thank you.
I love it. And we'll link also to your Amazon store, because again, your journal for our paper people. And I think there's a place for physical stuff as much as I love digital. It's great and it's super cute. So we'll go check that out. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back and, as you know, just wrap up with our hot seat questions. So sit tight. All right, Mary. So I may have asked you, I'm trying to remember. Well, obviously you were asked our hot mess minute question, which is where you most organize and where you're a hot mess, which we'll get to in a second. But did we ask you the book question when you were on? Was I asking that back then? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. So we started this last year and people seem to love it. And secretly or not so secretly, I love it, because then I get all these great book recommendations and tips from people. So we always ask our guests, what book, it could be a current book, it could be an older book, it could be fiction, nonfiction, has inspired you, or something that you gravitate to. It's like your go-to book. If you were to give a book recommendation, what would it be? Share it with us.
I mean, aside from your book, which is on my bookshelf behind me.
Stop it. Stop. Thank you.
I don't have it cropped, facing, but it's still there. I do. I seriously, I do love your book. It's one of my favorite organizing books I've ever read. But
Thank you.
I think the book that I most recently read that had the biggest impact, not organizing related, but obviously you can, and I'm going to do it for you, relate it in, is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Seems I feel like I want to start taking
other people
a tally.
Said this?
Yes. And I need to go back and start, like, how many people have said essentialism? How many people have said Atomic Habits? Like there's certain kind of ones that people say. So it's a great book.
I read that probably like the end of last year. And I want to go back and revisit it, because it completely changed my mindset and like reframed kind of the way I think about things. So essentially, he says, if you want, he says a lot of things, but the thing that I took away from it the most was, if you want to create good habits, you want to, start some new habits, or even if you want to get rid of some of the older ones that are not serving you anymore, the clutter habits, you have to not think so much about the actual task that you need to do, but you want to think more about the person that you want to become. So when it comes to organization, rather than thinking about like the task of going through and decluttering or tidying or creating space, or creating systems, in your space, labeling, like even for an organizer, like that can get tedious after a while. And it can be daunting.
Sure.
So, but think about more of like, I want to be an organized person, like focus more on the type of person that you want to be. And that will help you get through the tasks, even if they are tedious, a little bit easier, because you're thinking less about like doing it physically and more of like what the outcome in terms of you living your life and like the person that you put out there, that you're focusing more on that.
Right. And it's like, an example would be like, I don't want to be racing around looking for my keys every day. Like I don't want that. I hate that it stresses me out that every morning I'm running around before work or whatever it is looking for my keys. So then creating that system to have that space is the byproduct so that you don't have to have that. And I think, again, that mind shift is so, so important because, again, I think we get hung up in the tactic as opposed to focusing in on kind of the why behind it and the strategy that we're going to go to make it sustainable, as opposed to just like, here's the task.
Exactly. And I love that you brought up the key example, because when I first moved to my place in Georgia, I had to drill. And normally I would have like my dad to do all of this, but didn't have that now. So I like was putting off drilling. I have a little just two hook, system that I would put by the front door. And I lost my keys one day because I had put off hanging the hook, and I put them down somewhere. And I probably spent 20 minutes looking for these keys. And that's 20 minutes of my life that I couldn't get back.
And in my world, I would say they were misplaced. They weren't lost. They were just misplaced. They were temporarily misplaced.
Threw them somewhere.
Yes.
It does. It's so important to like have those systems, and as simple as it is. And then it took me, once I did it, it took me 5 minutes to get this, I'm not good with the drill, but I got it to work, and it hasn't fallen down yet.
I love it.
But focus on maybe you don't want to be the person that's always late. Like, I don't want to be known as the person that's always late. So let me do this thing that's going to take maybe 5 minutes of my life to hang a key hook, and then get into the habit every single day of putting them there when I walk in, and, just making sure that way I know when I leave the house, that's where they are. Like for those 5 minutes of hanging the hook, and then like maybe the minute that you need to like remember to put it away every day, like it just becomes the habit. And then you become the person that's not running around wasting 20 minutes looking for your keys.
I love it. I love it. And then our final questions. And even though I asked you this last time, I'm sure it's going to be different because we go through seasons of life. And I don't remember what you answered last time. We'll have to go back and listen. Where right now do you feel like you are thriving when it comes to organization? And where do you feel like a little bit of a hot mess?
I probably will be. I don't remember what I said, but probably
I don't remember what you said.
To be honest, because it's usually the same. Like some of my physical stuff, I'm pretty organized. Like if I can touch it, I can organize it.
That's what you always say, and I
always say it, and it's
true. You do say that.
Yeah. Same. My time is probably where I struggle the most. I do have some ADD, so I just I'll try really hard and I'll get distracted. I've found little things over the years that have helped me. I like to set timers because even just with like cooking, I'll put something in the oven. It's bad. I'll completely forget that it's in there.
Oh my word.
It's bad. No, it's really bad. No, I do. Well,
do you have like an Alexa or Google Home? Just say, okay,
I'm not
Google.
I'm not gonna say it because I've got one in the room and she'll start talking.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do now I've got into the habit, because I would forget to even just set it. But now you practice it and I've gotten to the habit. I also, I get lazy sometimes. I don't want to put things away, but like when I get ready in the morning, it's like everything is out. Makeup is everywhere, hair stuff is everywhere, and I'll leave it. I'm like, oh, I'll get to it later. I've gotten myself into the habit of like, just put it away, because later comes and I don't want to do it. And then I take out more stuff and it piles up. So I've had to like really focus on, which is hard for me, to use my time like a little bit more wisely. That's where I definitely feel like the biggest hot mess when it comes to my time, but
yeah,
a work in progress.
I love it. I mean, I appreciate it. And again, I love asking other organizers this question. I mean, I ask every guest this question, but I specifically love asking organizers because even though you're real and authentic on social media, when people are listening or people are following or people are reading, we all tell ourselves these narratives, and they assume, a lot of people assume that if we do this for a profession, if I could speak, that we have it all together all the time. And nobody has it all together all the time. So I love just bringing the human element into, oh, she struggles too. So I think it allows people to feel less alone. And hey, we're all a little bit of a work in progress.
I joke around that it's like a chef that doesn't want to cook when they get home. Like sometimes if I'm organizing someone's kitchen all day, I have to say, sometimes it does motivate me. Like I come home and I'm like in a mood and I get mine a little bit more in order, but then sometimes I'm like, I can't even look at you right now. Like I
totally
did this for someone else all day. I'm not doing it for myself. So yeah, we are definitely not perfect.
Exactly. Well, Mary, I'm hugging you through the computer screen. I love you. You're one of my OGs in the SBO Partner Program. I'm very excited to see what's new and exciting to come with both of your amazing companies that you've built. You're an inspiration to women entrepreneurs everywhere. And I feel really blessed and grateful that you are my friend and that I get to share you with my people. So thank you so much. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome to our little slice of the world here. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button wherever you are watching or listening. And if you want to learn more about any of the things that we're doing, head on over to simplybeorganized.com and we can direct you to where you need to go. Until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love by sharing it with your friends. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so that you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth a listen. Head on over to YouTube and make sure that you follow us there as well. We record interviews, videos, and conversations with all of our guests. And again, if you want to learn more about our product offerings, feel free to visit us at simplybeorganized.com, where you can connect